Enjoy your meeting.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this businessadvising.org webinar. My name is Ellie Raber. I'm the Associate Director here at businessadvising.org. We're joined today by Deb Doyle, one of our fantastic advisors, who's going to share with us how to find customers to increase sales. Hello, Deb.
Good morning, everyone.
Before we get started, a few small housekeeping items. We are recording this to post online later, just so everyone knows. I want to thank everyone for signing in on time, for making use of this free resource. Everyone is muted for now, just so we don't hear background noise and buses driving by and that type of thing. Should you have a question, or when you have a question, I should say, in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen is a little chat window. You can ask any questions there. Deb is nice enough to stick around for a little bit afterwards and answer some Q&A. So put any questions you have there, and we'll be sure to make sure that those are answered. A little bit about us. We are a nonprofit small business accelerator that matches business owners with volunteer expert advisors like Deb to work with you on your targeted business needs. So whatever pain points you have, we have advisors who can work with you to help your business grow. We also have a loan program here for California-based businesses, so if that's of interest, do let us know. A little bit about our speaker today. Deb Doyle is a brand storyteller and founder at Stage 2 Marketing. She helps clients find their voices, clarify their messages, and create marketing materials that inspire customers to act. Her work has benefited such clients as Varian Medical Systems, Taste on the Fly Restaurant Group, University of San Francisco, Solar City, and numerous startups. Deb teaches advertising and social media at UC Berkeley Extension and San Francisco State Extension. Deb is active in the community. Besides volunteering with us, she serves as a Vice President Marketing Chair of the National Association of Women's Business Owners in the Bay Area. And she has a lot of other community engagements that she participates in. So without further ado, Deb, I'm going to load your presentation and pass control over to you.
Thanks, Eli. I'm going to accept that. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you can see my slides. What we're going to talk about today is finding new customers so that you can increase your sales. And what might surprise you a little bit is that we're not really going to focus as much on, sorry about this, I need to, oops. I'm having a little technical difficulty seeing my button to move. Next, there we go, okay. So what we're going to talk about today is the three basic things that I want you to think about when you go to find your new customer. Because frankly, finding new customers is actually an exercise in finding more of the customers that you already have. And the reason for that is that we are by nature tribal creatures. We like to do business with those who match us, who align with us, who look like us, who behave like us, who believe the same things that we believe. And so when we find more of ourselves, those are the types of people that we like to do business with, and those are the people who like to do business with us. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you get to know what I call your super customer. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about how you find it. And last, but certainly not least, is how do you then go about engaging that person. So the first thing I want you to take away, and if you take away nothing else from this, is that people buy from companies and products that make them feel powerful. And by that I mean our guy on the, I guess what would be your right is, or maybe your left, the man wearing Carhartt boots, you know what, he puts them on in the morning and they make him feel like he's going to be the best roofer in the world. He chooses those boots over other kinds of boots because he really likes the feeling of the Carhartts. Whereas our guy on the left, he's picked out his very fancy Ferragamo shoes because when he walks into a business meeting wearing those shoes, he's just got that little extra step of oomph behind him. Why did he pick Ferragamo versus Carhartt? Well, first of all, it wouldn't have been appropriate for his business meeting, but also it would be because that brand makes him feel a little more powerful. And if you think about the products that you do business with, You choose them in part because they make you feel stronger, smarter, a better person. In essence, they make you feel more of your genuine self. And we want to think about that as we think about defining our super customer. So one thing that I hear a lot from my small business clients is that I want to talk to a lot of different people, but I counsel them in the exact opposite. You instead want to focus on just one person, and you want to focus on that one super customer, because when you find one of those people, you get to find their tribe. And frankly, if you focus on lots of different people, if you were to say you were selling boots or shoes, and you were going to focus on both our Carhartt man and our Ferragamo man, you would have to have two completely different marketing plans. You would have to have two different marketing messages, two sets of creative, two sets of media, two sets of everything. And as a small business, you don't have time to do that. So it's much more powerful, and it's actually more authentic if you focus on just one person and you advertise specifically to them, you market specifically to them, and then you then get to find the people who are like them, and that's what helps you build your market. And the reason why we do that is because, as I said at the very beginning, we are genetically engineered to be tribal. We look for people who are like us. It's safe. It protected us at our most anthropological level. It protected us from the big beasts in the world. But in the more modern world, what it does is it affiliates people for being like us. It reaffirms our worldview. It allows us to say, I belong to these folks. And we have to admit that my picture here of the Oakland Raiders is a very special kind of tribe that not be the kind of tribe that other people would belong to. But you know what? If you're a Raiders fan and you see those guys, you say, those are my peeps, and that's who I want to belong to. When you join a tribe, you have to be authentic. And authenticity becomes very important in the world of marketing because it's easy to feel like you're a poser if you don't really understand. So when you join the tribe, when you go after your super customer who is a member of the tribe to which you already belong, if this is making some sense, then you're already authentically part of that group. You're already given permission to be part of their marketing world, which gives you permission to sell to them and to offer your product. The way you find your tribe, the way you find your customer intimately and you figure out who she is I recommend to most of my clients that they look in the mirror. Either you look at yourself and describe yourself if you are a new business and you don't have many customers, or more importantly, you go out and you start looking for the customers that are already your best customers. A number of years ago, I was working with a PCV client who made personal videos. And we had our first conversation was, so you're new, you don't have a lot of customers. Who are your clients? Who is the best person? And they had one particular customer who had come back and purchased 5 videos from them. And so we started to describe her. What neighborhood did she live in San Francisco? What was her family situation? Was she married? What did she do during the day? What did her husband do during the day? Were her parents alive? What was their situation? And all of a sudden, as we went through these conversations, one of the founders looked at me and she goes, oh my God, you just described Pam. Pam is our super customer. And so what we ended up doing was we then created a marketing plan for them that was all about Pam. And we were then able to say, what would Pam do? Where would Pam be going for information? What does Pam need to know in order for them to buy more videos? And the good thing about Pam is that she had lots of friends. And so once Pam started feeling like my client was authentically speaking to them and authentically meeting Pam's needs, Pam then went out to her friends and told them about her and then told them about them. And needless to say, their business has grown and they are quite successful right now. So the next thing I want to talk about over the next few minutes is how do we really find your super customer? Well, we talked initially about looking at who your customer is and looking at your existing customers, which I believe is the best way to go about doing that. But there's also some things that you want to consider as well. So we're going to start with primary research, which is where you talk to your customers. You definitely want to reinforce it with third-party resources, and we'll talk about some of those. And then last but not least, don't forget to look at your competitors. See who is shopping at their locations so that you can see how your offering is different from theirs. And sometimes you can see the differences more in the comparison and by looking at things side by side than if you are looking, and then if you're just trying to say, well, a Burger King customer and a McDonald's customer are the same. If you go into Burger King and you go into McDonald's, you will realize that they actually are different customers, even though they're large burger chains. So we'll start with qualitative research, and this would be where you can often talk to your own customers. So interview them. Sit down and talk to them. I hope you know who they are. Talk to the best ones. Invite one out for coffee. Find out what they like. What are they as a human being? What else do they like to do? Ask them, why did they choose your product versus somebody else's product? What are the things that are really making them choose you versus choosing somebody else? And don't just listen for the rational reasons. Don't listen for things like, well, your price was better than somebody else's. Try to get an idea of what emotional reaction they get from owning your product, wearing your product, using your product. What is the benefit they're getting? Do they feel more confident because you have a really quality product, so they know that, say you were a technology company, I like to use your product because I know it's going to not crash on me, which means that I can feel confident that I'm going to be productive during the day. I'm not going to be spending my entire morning fussing around with technology. So look for the emotional reasons as to why people like you, as opposed to, and in addition to the rational reasons of why people want to work with you. So for qualitative research, which is one of the ways that we look for information about people, as I said, we've got customer interviews. The other thing if depending on your client and depending on who you are, you may want to talk to them in one-on-one interviews. A number of years ago, we were doing a project for Ghirardelli chocolate. And as you may or may not know, chocolate and sex are very closely linked in the female psyche. And so we wanted to talk to women about their feelings about how those two things were linked. But that was not exactly a topic that you could have in a large group forum. Women become uncomfortable talking about their sexual reactions or their sexual feelings when they're eating dark chocolate versus milk chocolate versus Hershey's versus Ghirardelli. So in that particular case, one-on-one interviews in people's homes was a much more productive way for us to get the information that they needed. As I mentioned earlier, competitive shopping, that's also what I call anthropological shopping, and that's just getting out and looking at the world. Go see who is shopping where. A project that we had to do a number of years ago, we were going to do a Christmas campaign for TJ Maxx, and we were given the assignment, and I really had not spent a lot of time in TJ Maxx versus Marshalls versus Ross versus, at the time it was Mervyn's, and so we thought, well, it's just generically women who are 35 to 45, middle income, that's who shops at these places, and we'll have to figure it out. When we went to those stores, we realized that there was a huge difference in the way that those in the shoppers at each of those locations, and we were then able to create marketing that was very specifically targeted to the TJ Maxx customer, which was incredibly different from the Ross Dress for Less customer. We would not have found that out unless we had gone and watched and looked at people quickly. The other thing you can do is focus groups, which is where you get a group of people together and you can sort of get some feedback on them, feeding back on you. Now, all of this research is designed for you to help to understand your super customer. What makes them different? What makes them yours? What is it about your product that is appealing to them? And how do you then know them as people so that you can then create marketing that is going to speak directly to their wants and needs? The other thing you can do is quantitative research, and this is customer surveys. You can also buy external lists. So I am hoping that many of you have email lists of your customers. I'm hoping that you are engaging in some forms of email marketing with your customers. You know, once a year you can do a customer survey, and you could ask them questions about themselves. You take this information all the time. Whenever you buy a product and you're filling out the information that says, that you are happy with the product, or you're registering it for the warranty, and at the very end it'll ask you a bunch of questions about your demographics. That's the type of customer surveys that you're getting. And again, if you get enough of that information, you will start to see that there are some patterns that are there, and you go, oh, what do you know? The majority of my customers come from are 25 to 27 years old, or 25 to 30 years old. They live in San Francisco. They're single. They work for a tech company, or they don't work for a tech company. It will start to give you some information based on the questions you ask about who they are and where they go. Excuse me while I just adjust the light in my office a little bit. I have a morning office, and I think you'll see me. Oh, there we go. Now I don't look like I'm talking to you from a cave. I want to strongly encourage you to take advantage of secondary research. Google is your friend. It has an amazing amount of information, and it will link you to all kinds of great sites that will give you the information that can be very, very important. A number of years ago, we were doing a project for Frontier Telecom, Frontier Wireless, which is a wireless company that services people in the places that are too small for the big wireless companies to come into. And they wanted to introduce wireless into the community, and they wanted to do it as paid wireless. Like, they wanted you to be able to pay $9.95 to go into the market, or to pick up wireless when you were in the local coffee shop, or if you were downtown at your kid's baseball game and you wanted to do something while you were watching your kids play baseball. So we went, and the first thing we did, and these were communities that we were not particularly familiar with, but the first thing we did was we went to Google, and which took us to the Census Bureau, and we were then able to look at community census data for the communities where we were going into. And what we found was that the average household income in these particular places was about $30,000 to $50,000 a year. So that led us to say they are never going to pay for wireless. They don't have the budget for that. However, all of these communities had large companies that were located there, such as Purina. Now, people were traveling to these communities in order to visit Purina and do business with Purina. Now, those were the people who were going to be willing and needed to pay for wireless because they wanted to stay connected to their work back home. That led us to create a campaign that was directed at the hotel guests and that was directed at people who were traveling, not the locals, because the locals weren't going to be able to do that. By going through this research, we were able to figure out who the super customer was going to be for Frontier in these small communities. The library is an often neglected place to look, and librarians are very helpful. They know all kinds of stuff, and they are thrilled when you ask them to show that. But you can go to your local library, and it's free, and you can go into the research department. You can look under business and investments, and then you look under general, and there will be all kinds of statistics about your industry, about your community, about the different types of research that have been done. You can look up studies of what other people have done that may give you the insight in order to tell you that. As an example of that, I don't know if any of you have heard of Dollar Shave Club, but it's quite the internet phenomenon of companies. And they started by getting a research study that had been done by Gillette that said that men really resent how much money and how expensive and how fancy razors have become. It just becomes like a little nub that just annoys them every month that they have to spend so much money on razors. They would much rather spend it on other things that would be more fun, like baseball and beer. So what did Dollar Shave Club do? He said, well, there's actually no reason why razors need to be that expensive. They are just, in fact, razors, and my grandfather shaved with a razor that did a great job for so many years. So what if I went back to basics and I created this program and then made an amazing video that specifically talked to those pain points, specifically talked to the audience of men who would be really resentful of spending $40 to $50 every month on razor blades, and created a company that has now become quite the sensation and is very, very successful. Again, they found their super customer. They understood what their pain points were, and then they started talking specifically to them. So when you go and you do your competitive research, you can go and you can look at who does different things. So if you go to a McDonald's and you go to a Chipotle, that is a way of just seeing who the different people are. Quite similar to anthropological research, but when you do competitive research, I also want you to look at the marketing of what they are doing. Look at the messages that they're telling their customers. How are they advertising? Chipotle is always talking about the quality of the food. They're talking about its local origins. They're talking about how healthy it was at the source. McDonald's is selling you an experience. McDonald's is always talking about how you're loving it. Now, they suggest that you might be loving the food, but most of what you're loving is McDonald's, and you're loving the feeling that comes from McDonald's and the joy and the happiness that they want to embody when you go into their stores. So look at what your competitors are doing so that you can then understand where you fit in this world of choices that your customer has when they go to buy whatever your product happens to be. The last topic, because we just don't have that much time, is once you've figured out who your super customer is, you know who your Pam is, and you know why she is choosing you instead of some of the other products that are also out there that are available to her. Now you need to figure out what do you say to Pam in order to make her buy more from you, or to tell her friends, or to get her going. I want you to remember that people buy with their hearts and they justify with their heads. And the best example of that is I can't see you and I don't know that you can't respond, but if I asked how many women out there in the room have more than one pair of black shoes, I suspect I would get a pretty good percentage of people raising their hands. We do not need more black shoes. However, we want those black shoes because we know that the pair that is in the store looks different from the pair that we have at home in our closet, and they will look so great with the outfit that we just bought, and they are just going to make us feel so amazing and so powerful that we have to have them. You know what? We just bought it with our heart, but we justified it with our head, and that's the way people buy everything. And if you can keep that in mind, that we want to really appeal to people's hearts and then just give them the rational reasons why they should choose you, you're going to be golden when it comes to moving forward. So if we go back to my moving portraits client that was speaking to Pam, the rational thing that they offered was they made movies that were for customers. They made personal video movies, and they were relatively expensive. They were probably in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000. So it was a pretty high-end customer that was going to pay for a professional videographer to come in and buy from and spend time with the family, get to know them, video them, and then go back and give them a fully edited piece. But what we figured out was what they were offering wasn't just a video. What they were offering was a memento. They were offering a keepsake. They were offering the ability for families to stay connected through the generations. They were the ability for parents to introduce grandparents to their children. And the crux point when someone would buy their video was often if there was some kind of a health scare or there was some kind of a life event, a baby was born, and suddenly the new mother looks up and goes, wow, my parents are getting older and they might not be around to see my baby grow all the way to her wedding day, but I would like my baby to know her grandparents, so I'm going to make a video of her grandparents. We were connecting to them through their hearts so that they could justify, but then justifying through their heads that it was going to offer them something practical that they could do that. So once you find your super customer and you know how you fit between them, then you need to start figuring out how you can justify your purchase to them by connecting with them through their hearts. Oops, wrong button. So if we think about, here's our quintessential soccer mom, when she goes out to buying a car, she goes out to buy a new minivan, or I should probably She's probably buying something a little cooler than this model right now. But she's going to go out and she will search rational reasons. She's going to look to see whether, she's going to check to see whether it's reliable, whether it's comfortable, whether it's economical, how easy is it to service, is the service dealer close by. But at the end of the day, she's going to choose one minivan versus another minivan, or one SUV versus another SUV, because it makes her feel like she's a great mom. She's doing the best thing for her kids because she's got something that's safe to drive. She's got something that is economical, which means that it allows her to budget her money wisely. So she's got money to spend more on her kids' needs and what they need to do. And it's going to make it easy for her to get around town so she can get the groceries and she can pick up the dry cleaning, and more importantly, she can schlep the entire team from soccer game to soccer game. At the end of the day, those reasons make her feel like a great mom, and that's why she's going to buy one particular car versus another particular car. She's going to get into that car and she's going to go, you know what? This feels like the most powerful mom I can be. And that's the minute she's going to say, this is the car for me. The reasons that it's reliable, comfortable, economical, and easy to own, those are the things that she will use to justify her purchase, but it's the fact that she's going to be a great mom that's actually going to have her make the purchase. So in summary, I want you to fall in love with your super customer. I want you to embrace them like they are your best friend, because for the sake of your business, they are. So first, go find them. Look at your current customer base. Figure out who is the person who buys the most from you right now. And if it's not one, maybe two or three. Find out who they are. If it's more than one, that's great, because then you can start to say, what do these guys have in common? What makes them similar, and why are they choosing me? Then you want to get to know them as well as you know yourself. Truly, you want to know them inside out. You want to know what else do they like to do in their world, so that you can go talk to them, you can connect with them in a meaningful way that makes you authentic and believable to them, not just as a vendor who's showing up to say, hey, I got a product, come give me some money for it. And then you want to market to them, and you want to be there when they hang out, where they hang out, when they hang out. You want to speak to them in their language. You want to address their needs. You want to speak to them. You want to speak to their hearts. And you want to be able to tell them that they should be buying from you, because you're going to make them a more powerful version of themselves. They're going to feel better, stronger, more important, more loved, because they have purchased your product. And then the last thing, which was sort of a bonus on the call, is please make it easy for them to buy from you. Check your website. Check all your marketing materials. Make sure you have an address on there. Make sure you have make sure that you've got your website. Make sure you have a phone number. Honestly, I have seen ads that do not have those things, and people are way too busy. If it's not easy for them to buy from you, they will make the choice and they will go to the next one. So everything you can, make it easy for them to buy. Talk directly to your super customer. And once you do that, you will be able to start growing your market and finding more of them and getting new customers that will add to new sales. So thank you, everyone. It was great. And Bob Porter, thank you very much for the compliment. Now, Eli, remind me how I turn this back to you.
Yeah, I'll take back control. Thank you very much, Deb. Everyone, here's Deb's contact information. If you'd like to get in touch with her, I'm sure she'd be happy to chat with you, and we can also talk with you about your needs in terms of an advising engagement, and if Deb would be a great advisor for you. So now it's time for Q&A. At the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is the Q&A box, so a little chat window. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them there. I'll be sure to bring them up to Deb. And I have one that has come in. It says, I sell some jewelry, homemade jewelry, I'm guessing. How do I differentiate myself and find my super customers when there are a lot of other jewelry manufacturers out there?
That's actually a great question, and I have had it in the past. The fact is that while you may sell earrings, just for grins, let's say there are earrings, there are so many different styles and shapes that women wear jewelry as a reflection of themselves. It gives you a clue about who they are. So if your super customer is a bohemian, for example, she might be wearing chandelier earrings that are going to be really bright and sparkly and look like they belong on, I'm trying to think of a famous bohemian right now. I'm going to date myself. But look like she belongs on Ally McGraw when she was dating Steve McQueen. That's probably far too old of a reference for everyone on the call. Or she might be wearing very classic tiny gold hoops that are very classic and beautiful and understated, and she's more like a Grace Kelly. She's going to be more of a classic girl. So when you understand your super customer, you're going to know how your jewelry fits into her life. You're not just going to sell to all women who are 18 to 75, or depending on when girls start wearing jewelry. You're going to sell to the woman who's going to look at your jewelry and say, wow, that's what I want to wear. That's going to make me feel more powerful. That's the one that my friends, when I wear it, are going to go, ooh, I really like your new earrings, because we all like that. I mean, so your jewelry will, remember, people wear jewelry or other competitive products, and I pick on jewelry as an example, but it could be anything. If you have a restaurant, people eat at restaurants that fit their worldview. If you feel that, if you're like our Carhartt guy at the very beginning, he's going to want to go eat at a diner. If our Ferragamo guy is going to go to some fancy brunch place on Sunday morning that serves mimosas and salmon, farm-raised salmon on organic bread that was grown on the farm down the street, that's what he's going to have for breakfast. Our Carhartt guy, he doesn't care. He just wants eggs and bacon. So when you know your super customer, then you can find the niche of the person that you need to talk to, and that's how you get them more customers. I hope that makes sense.
Well, you actually segue to another question that's come in, which is, my business is still forming and I'm finding my customers. So how do I find my super customers when things are still in formation?
Well, that's where your competitors can be very, very helpful, because you can go, you are probably selling a product that is similar to someone else's product. So go look at who they're talking to, and in your head, think about what makes them different. The other thing is, for small businesses in particular, our businesses are a direct reflection of us. Jewelers make jewelry that they want to wear. Clothes designers make clothing that they want to wear. I market to customers that I want to do business with. So I think that, so if you look at yourself, if you look in the mirror and you go, well, where would I go to look for jewelry? Where would I go to look for this? That's a great way to start to understand your target customer and also figure out where you're going to go get that person.
Fantastic. And you sort of touched on this already, but I'll ask it anyway because it came in, which is if I don't have much of a budget for research and this and focus groups, what are some of your tips for budget-friendly market research?
Well, there's a lot of great budget-friendly market research. As I said, the library is great. Google is wonderful. Google can take you to all kinds of places and teach you all kinds of things you don't necessarily want to know. Just talking to customers can be very lower budget. It can be very inexpensive. You can also do surveys. SurveyMonkey is not expensive. I think you get 100 interviews for free. They have a limited version, so if you have your customer list, you could do a SurveyMonkey there. So there are a number of low-cost research options that you can take advantage of.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Deb, for joining us on today's call. This was very insightful. We're going to post it online so future generations can watch it. Really appreciate it. And to everyone out there, all the small business owners, get in touch with businessadvising.org, and we can supply you with a fantastic advisor just like Deb. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.